As food writers, one of the questions that gets thrown at us on a daily basis, along with what's your favorite place? What places are you most excited about that are opening soon? What's the next must-go-to place? We'll answer those questions today. And in conjunction with the most anticipated list, we'll end with a micro rant about a thing these places should do to set themselves up for success, but often don't. Oh, and by the way, hello, this is Arch Eats.
This episode of Arch Eats is sponsored by Butler's Pantry.
I'm George Mahey, and I'd like to wish the happiest of New Year's to my co-host and better podcast half, the yin to my yang, the lofty to my lowly, the sweet to my sour.
Oh, goodness.
Is that sappy enough?
I don't know if I'm the sweet to your sour. I think you might have that backward, but I'm Cheryl Bear, and I return the sentiment, George. I'm looking forward to 2025 with you.
Thank you. But first up is what I can't stop thinking about this week. Even though you're blushing, go ahead and begin.
Well, mine is less a dish than it is a place. I had an appointment in South City and had some time to kill and was, just going to go grab a cup of coffee somewhere. But I thought, you know what? I'm not. I'm going to sit at a bar. I'm going to treat myself. Well, not a bar for that reason this time around. But I'm going to sit there. I'm going to treat myself to breakfast. I don't take myself out to breakfast that often. And I was right by Hatched in South City.
An excellent choice.
Oh, my gosh. I walked in there, and it had been a little while since I'd been. And I remembered, yes, this is why I loved this place in the first place. It was a Friday morning, probably around 9 a.m. The place was packed. It had such a good energy. The owner, Josh, he is so wonderful. What a great, humble, welcoming host. He touches every table. He makes everyone feel like they are important, that he's happy that they are there. The food, it's just great breakfast food. I remember falling in love with the hash browns the first time I was there. And they are just your regular shredded, griddled hash browns, but he really isn't afraid to amp them up with butter and salt, and they're golden and delicious. I just felt like I was part of a community sitting in there, and I thought to myself, this is one of those great daytime restaurants that everyone needs to know about and everyone needs to visit.
He's a great operator, and he comes from the Shack family, and those guys are great operators, too.
Kind of has those funny touches that they do with the comically named entrees and all
drinks.
Of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent place. And it's busy all the time. That's always a good sign. You'll walk in there on a Tuesday morning, and that place is busy.
It's great.
This place that I'm talking about is too new to be any of those. It's called Mestiza, and it's the new taco place from the Malinche folks. It's on Hampton Avenue. They also have a taco stand at City Park, but it's a taco place. There's 15 tacos, a few side dishes, margaritas, beer, Mexican sodas. That's it.
Which is so different from Malinche, which it's so fun to be able to see them do two very different genres of traditional Mexican food.
But this is a true taqueria, and their margaritas, I love them because they come in those like clay pottery cups.
Ooh.
Really nice. Feels like you're in Mexico. They're not overly sweet. Thank you very much. 90% of the margaritas are.
Yes.
You order at the counter, you sit down, and immediately they stop at your table with this cute little wooden tray with antojitos, a mini taco that has kind of a mild sweet potato in it. And with it are the 4 sauces. So they're introducing you to the 4 sauces, so you already know which sauce you want or which you like. By the time, it really is, and it's really well presented. It's very sharp and attractive, and it's an icebreaker for the folks that own the place. And let me tell you, their tacos really, really good. Different things you don't expect. Longaniza with nopalitos with little cactus on top. There's a Del Trompo taco. That's a pork taco. They've got a suadero taco, which is a cut of meat you don't see at grocery stores and butcher shops in this country. You'll learn some things. The tacos are all great. And I just think it's going to be definitely one of those places along with Taqueria Durango and maybe Mi Tierra Bonita on the east side. I think it's going to definitely be on the taco rotation. We even got one with crickets, with chupalines if you want to try that. Lots of things to try there. Mestiza, tacos, and cantaritos, 2 drinks on Hampton Avenue, lunch and dinner, Tuesday through Sunday.
Oh, it's so exciting. Well, I can't wait to try that.
We'll be right back.
Craving delicious, locally crafted food for your next event? Entertaining Now by Butler's Pantry offers ready-made, beautifully presented drop-off catering that is loved by the St. Louis community. Enjoy the best of the season from their winter menu. With Butler's Pantry, you can impress your guests, support local, and treat yourself to stress-free hosting. Order today at butlerspantry.com/entertaining-now. And now, back to the show. There's some other places that haven't even opened yet that we're very excited about.
And we do this list every year.
Yes.
We did it last year, and it was maybe the most hit-on article of the year. There was over 100,000 hits for the most anticipated. Really a big subject.
Yeah.
We didn't want to miss it. We did a podcast episode last year. We're doing one this year, very similar. Different places, obviously. Lead us off.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about some of the fun places that are coming up this year. Some of them are moves, some of them are additional locations. It really kind of spans the whole gamut of
New concepts
there. One that's coming up here in January that, gosh, it feels like I've been waiting for this for 10 years at this point, is Lucy Quinn and its sister restaurant, Little Lucy. Now, those who follow the St. Louis restaurant scene are familiar with Ben Welch. Ben Welch has been around in a lot of places for a decent amount of time. Really kind of came out of the gate making a name for himself with his barbecue restaurant in Maryland Heights, Big Baby Q. And ever since then, he's been talking about his dream of opening a place called Lucy Quinn. He's had the name this whole time. That is going to be an expression of elevated Southern food, soul food. It's named after his maternal grandmother. I think he describes her as this fiery woman who kept a pistol on her and made bathtub gin and all of this. But she also cooked in households of wealthy people. So she kind of has this refined way of presenting food as well. So he wants Lucy Quinn to be this embodiment of that, just kind of her spirit in this restaurant. I'm so excited about it. When he finally announced that he had a brick and mortar, which is going to be in the former Beast Butcher and Block spot in the middle of the Grove, big location there, he decided that he was also going to open a sister concept that he's calling Little Lucy, which is going to be a diner version of Lucy Quinn. And when I was talking to him, the words that came out of his mouth, which got me super excited, he said, have you been to Au Cheval in Chicago? I said, well, absolutely. Of course. He is likening it to that. Like, this is the level we're talking about. He is a James Beard semifinalist. So look for this to be a spot that people are buzzing about and will make national press.
And I think it's interesting because that Beast space lends itself to these two concepts.
Yes, it does.
That space was a wonderful restaurant in kind of an overbuilt environment. I think the owner spent a lot of money there, and I think that was part of the reason it wasn't successful.
Yeah.
You know how it is. Sometimes it's the second guy that comes in that finds success, and this may well be Ben at Little Lucy and Lucy Quinn.
I'm so excited about that one.
And there's another one. Speaking of soul food, you have another one that's in that same realm.
I do, and that's why I'm kind of wondering, we always are asked to forecast trends and things of that sort. I'm wondering if maybe this modern interpretation of soul food is something that we're going to see more of. I certainly would love to. This one that's next on my list, anticipated to open sometime in the summer, although it's a very tentative opening date at this point, is Lineage. Lineage is courtesy of Ty Davis. And again, people who are familiar with some of the players and the St. Louis restaurant community are probably familiar with Ty Davis. He refers to himself as the Black Willy Wonka. So what does that mean? What that means is he's an accomplished model, fine artist, cellist, pastry chef, you name it, author.
Cookbook author.
He won an episode of the Food Network show Chopped. This person can do absolutely anything. And this restaurant Lineage, again, he wants to cast soul food in an elevated fine dining tasting menu format. I
Right.
cannot wait to see what he
And he
does.
said, of all the things I do, this is where my heart is.
Yes.
High-end soul food is where I think all the action is and where my interests are. It's fascinating. And if you've ever seen this guy plate up anything,
Oh my gosh.
it is going to be spectacular.
He's an artist, and you see that in his food. He is a fine artist. His plates look like works of fine art. You even got a readout on a preview that he recently did. He's been doing pop ups around town, and he does plan to continue to do these pop ups in the buildup to opening Lineage. So look for an opportunity to sample, but I know
Yeah,
you
and
got a
no,
readout
and
on
it's
that.
a great name, an apt name. And he just wants people to see the possibilities of what soul food can be. One of his items that exemplified what he's doing was a blue crab beignet
Oh,
with with
delicious.
she crab velouté
Oh,
underneath, creme fraiche, and bowfin caviar. And if you've seen a picture of this, you'd go, okay, I get it. This is beautiful. I'm
yes.
there.
Yes.
I can't wait for this
He's
place.
so talented. I just feel like he's just brimming with all of this talent. And then when it comes out in Lineage, it's just going to blow our minds. So I have those two. I've got a few more, but I know you have some too that you're
Yeah,
looking
I
forward to.
think probably the most exciting, and this is a grouping, this is under an umbrella. This is, we've talked about this many times before, but it's changing. Ben Paremba's place is over in the Delmar Maker District. He's moved his 3 restaurants from Botanical Heights to the Delmar Maker District. Nixta has just opened, and it is, I mean, another home run. His tagline was, "It feels like a vacation." How the heck can that be a bad place to go have a meal, right?
Wow.
What I think is fascinating is he's promised these 3 places, but then he went ahead and started 2 more before he even got
He
to
just
them.
can't be stopped. I love it.
He opened Esca and a place called Florentin, and now he's promised a place called Esca, Vino, and Spuntino. Anyway, long story short, Ben has doubled down in the Delmar Maker District. The 3 restaurants he promised has become 6. That has never happened. It probably never will happen again. So just keep your eye on that little half-mile stretch between Union and Kings Highway on Delmar because it's got Ben Paremba's name all over it.
Wow. He's just pushed things so much further than we ever could have even dreamed of. I'm just so beyond excited
Right.
to see what he comes up with.
The people thought he was nuts to do the 3 restaurants, and now he's doing 6.
And you know they're working.
Yeah. And we've seen 3 of them, and they're all home runs.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so thrilled for him. What else you got?
Another chef that's doing an interesting thing is Alex Shingle. And this guy is a former chef at Blue Hill at Stone Barns, which is a well-known restaurant in New
The
York.
Galenas as well?
And with the Galenas, and he was a chef at Vicia and Winslow's Table. And he has moved into the Benevolent King space in Maplewood, and he's doing a 4-course prefix menu priced at $75. And that is where he thinks the action is. And it's interesting because he goes, it reflects my culinary roots, like the Blue Hill at Stone Barns,
Mhm.
and it reflects my favorite dining spots in Europe. This is how they serve and dine there. Places that serve delicious food without this fine dining moniker. And he calls it fine comfort, which I think is a good spot to be
Mhm.
in. And I think his interpretation of this is interesting. I'm not really a prefix guy per se,
Mhm.
but here's why he is. He says, I prefer prefix menus over shared plates, which he says can get cumbersome with all the passing back and
That
forth and
makes
splitting and
sense.
dividing. And he's
Yes.
right. That can wear on you a little bit. Like, can't we
Yes.
all have just our own plate of food?
Exactly.
But anyway, that's what he's planning. It's called Robin Restaurant, and he's planning it in the Benevolent King space in Maplewood.
Well, and here we are, we talk about trends, we talked about elevated soul food. There are a few places on our list that are prefix or tasting menus. You talk about Lineage, you talk about Robin. Another place on my list that's less of a new restaurant and more of a move and an expansion also embraces that tasting menu format, and that's Mainlander. Mainlander has always been at the top of my list as far as the most exciting, innovative, unique restaurants in St. Louis. They were always just very limited by the space. It's such a tiny spot that they currently occupy on the south side of Euclid. Well, they are going to solve that by moving down to the former Salt and Smoke spot, which for those who are fans of the St. Louis restaurant scene and history, it is also the former Duff's,
Duff's, yeah.
which
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
gone but
You
never forgotten.
bow your head when you
Yes,
say that one.
moment of
It's that
silence.
revered.
It is revered, and I think it is so cool that Mainlander is going to now take that space over because to me, they just embody that sort of creative, innovative ethos that there was at Duff's. What I also love about this move, they're still going to have their small, intimate dining room. It will still be a tasting menu, two seatings. You will not notice a change between what you're getting right now and what you are getting at this new spot. However, they're adding a bar.
That's
And
the
I think that's
difference.
so cool. Not only will you be able to just pop in for a cocktail or have a place to have a drink before or after your dinner, you will be able to get small plates and snacks there. So, reservations at Mainlander are hard to get. If you just want to walk in one night to this new bar and lounge, you're going to be able to have this Mainlander experience, these wonderful drinks, this delicious food, and you don't have to go through the entire tasting menu or kill yourself trying to make a reservation. I think it expands their reach to people. It makes it a more approachable and inclusive experience. And I cannot wait to just pop in there
They
here and
didn't
there.
want to lose their mojo, and they needed to get bigger than 18 seats. I think it's going to be like 33,
Yes.
35. So it's still going to have that intimate feel to it.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, Mainlander was our restaurant of the year, St. Louis Magazine's restaurant of the year for 2024.
Yes, it was.
Just nailed it. One place, speaking of kind of different things, is something that I didn't think would come to this town. And I've kind of turned my head and go, this is really different. Sakatanoya
Oh,
Revolving
yes.
Sushi and Ramen Bar.
Oh, I'm so excited
That
about
is a
this spot.
total mouthful. It's founded by a 22-year-old kid who wanted to do something different. Well, that is. You remember in the early 70s when they had those little sushi restaurants and the sushi boats would
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love
float
it.
by and you'd grab a
So
plate and
fun.
eat and you'd count the plates and pay by the plate. Well,
Yes.
this is an evolution of that. You're actually ordering your sushi and ordering your meals, and it's being delivered on some sort of conveyor belt.
I'm so excited for this.
I just think, they call it conveyor belt sushi. We will see what this looks like. This is going to be in the melting pot space over on the Delmar Loop. And I'm just always excited about tech, always excited about innovations. And we'll just have to see how the public accepts it. I think it'll go over well. I think this whole grazing thing, having little bits and pieces dropped off and delivered, I still think that's a thing.
And it's not just sushi. They're doing ramen, aren't they? Some other Japanese dishes too. It looks like it's going to be not just delicious food, but this kind of fun spectacle to participate in.
Yes, I think that having things just dropped off by little sushi boats or a baggage claim style conveyor belt or little trucks or little trains or robots named Play-Doh.
Yes.
Remember there's a robot named
Yes.
Play-Doh. Anyway, we get it. We're fine with it. And we should be because it's coming.
Maybe this is another trend, right?
Yep, it is. So there's another somewhat more traditional place from definitely a well-known name in town. Mike Del Pietro is doing, gosh, I stopped counting. This is his 7th or 8th restaurant. This one he's calling Cibo, C-I-B-O, Italian for food. He bought a building on the corner of Hanley and Delmar, and he's more excited about buying a building and not having to pay a landlord rent than he is about opening a
love
new
it.
restaurant. To maximize the whole situation, he's got 3 shifts going. He's going to be open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, coffee and pastries in the morning, baked by his dear mother.
Oh, how lovely is that?
Lunch, featuring Roman-style pizza, something a little bit different, and then dinner with pastas and dishes that might be a little more familiar. But this is in a super prominent location and, more casual, I think, than formal, kind of right up his alley. So that's Cibo.
Perfect neighborhood spot,
It
sounds
is,
like.
and it's in an old service station.
Yeah,
So he's got
it's the old Sinclair station
yes,
right there.
exactly.
Yep.
So he's got those garage doors that'll become operational when that happens. Love the idea.
That sounds so fun. Well, I've got another move. Well, I guess it's not a move, it's a expansion. It's a second location. This is Stacked STL. Now, you know about Stacked. I think anyone who's a burger connoisseur in St. Louis knows about Stacked. This is a place that's been around for about a decade in the Carondelet neighborhood. Smash burgers have taken over the world, but this place is decidedly a thick burger restaurant, cooked to temperature and piled with any number of creative toppings. One of the women who's a co-owner is a culinary school grad, so she really puts the chef's touch on these, whimsical, creative, thoughtful toppings here. I love this place. I think it's one of the best burgers in town, and they are expanding to add a second location in the former Pie Pizzeria space in the Central West End. This is going to be such a neighborhood gathering
Well, and
spot.
that's a brilliant move because I think people have
Yes.
heard about this place. A lot of people haven't gone there because it is
Yes.
so far south
It's
in St.
deep,
Louis.
deep south.
And now they're right at the corner of Main and
Oh,
First, man, right in the Central West End in that pie space.
yeah.
Couldn't have picked a better spot as
And
far as being visible.
and they're so excited about it because they feel like right now where they're at, it's not a super walkable place. There aren't a lot of other shops and restaurants and businesses around. So they're really excited to be part of a community. And I think we'll look forward to partnerships, collaborations with other businesses in the neighborhood. They are just so excited about this spot. It should be pretty similar to the stack that people know and love in Carondelet. They said they may do something fun like each one will have a different burger of the month and they'll see who wins, who sells the most for bragging rights. But this is going to be a really great place to go to. Another, gosh, I don't know if you would call this a neighborhood spot. It is a massive complex that's going to be in one of the most ascendant restaurant neighborhoods in the metro area. This is Cottle Village Farmstead and Distillery. It's from Stephen Savage and his wife, Emily Savage. Stephen is of the wheelhouse of the Midwestern. So he brings all of that knowledge and experience with him to this wonderful multi-use venue that's going to be right in the heart of Cottleville. It's going to have a distillery. It's going to have a full-service sit-down restaurant. It's going to have an outdoor space that they're going to maybe have some music and other entertainment that will have a more casual kind of walk-up sort of concept. I'm very excited for this. I think Cottleville is on fire, and this is just going to add to that reputation as being this great dining destination.
It's going to be a really big complex, and he's going to kind of bring a little bit of the Kentucky bourbon country is what he
Yes.
wanted to do. He wanted to
Yes.
recreate that vibe in Cottleville where they both now live. But I just think it's a massive undertaking, a lot of property, a lot of things going on there. He's got Demetrius Kane of Nobleton's
Yes.
Distilling House, who's a dude helping him with the distilling part of it. Anyway, this is definitely going to be one to watch, along with Cottleville in general. Speaking of beverages, there's one craft brewery that's on the list called Great Heart Brewing. The reason that this is so significant, one of the reasons, it comes from John and Helena Valentine. John's mom's a member of the Bush family,
Yes.
which means he's a member of the Bush family, which means there's beer in his veins. His wife was raised in Bavaria. She comes from a family of hop farmers. So these guys are in position
Yeah,
to,
they
to
know
do
their
something
stuff.
really cool. And they're going to do German-style beers. There's going to be some emphasis on lagers and
Mhm.
pilsners and a lot of the things that some of the craft brewers don't, not the IPAs, not these
Yeah.
things that are a little bit more esoteric. They're going to hit a little bit more of the mainstream beer market. But what's interesting about it is this beautiful building in Olivet, and they are going to do a menu that it's significant as well. Soups and salads and burgers and things that are in the German or European vein. Think raclette cheese, fondues, things like that.
Oh, fun.
And the menu has been organized and concocted by Jimmy Fiala. So
Oh, wow.
but between
Say no more.
Yeah, between their kind of heritage and Jimmy's reputation, and this place is going to be beautiful. You haven't seen a lot of new brew pubs coming down the pike. This one's going to be significant.
And for those who don't live, breathe, eat this, Jim Fiala is of the Crossing fame. He is of
Achero.
or Achero, as we
yes.
all know better, although we're all going to call it Achero, let's be honest
Right.
here. So, wow. getting his food in this sort of setting, that's just thrilling.
So there's another interesting development in the pizza business. A guy named Nick Williams started a company called Nicky Slices. And remember, people really didn't understand it. It was an internet-based business.
Though the people who did, it was an if you know sort of place.
Yes.
You want to talk about massive buzz.
And
This
people
place had
people went crazy and
Yes, they
continue
did.
to go crazy. It's a take and bake operation, Detroit-style pizza. He decided he's going to do a brick and mortar, and he has a place on the hill, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to do Detroit-style slices, and he's also going to do, I understand, a thin crust version, which he says is still in development. He doesn't know exactly how he's going to do it, but he loves the Peroni-style pizza, that rectangular, thin crust. But that remains to be seen.
Is he a North County guy? He says Peroni's because that's my Florissant stomping grounds. And I would argue there is a subgenre of St. Louis style pizza called North County pizza that is rectangular, like you said, and also decidedly more orange. So I'm curious if he...
That's a quotable, yes.
Yeah. I'm curious if he's going that direction.
Well, he's a true pizza master, a pizzaiolo, a pizza scientist. This will be a significant pizza place, and everybody that's had a hard time figuring out what he's doing and where he's doing it can find him on the hill in the late spring.
Oh, that's going to be so exciting. There are people who are going to be beating down the door the day he announces his opening date.
And these are basically the ones we talked about are all opening in the first 4 or 5 months, six months of the year. But you've got one that's kind of bringing up the rear.
I've got one that he says is going to open late. I mean, we're talking December late of 2025. But I think he's going to sneak open a little bit before that. If we know him, he'll sneak open for sure. This is Parker's Table's new concept called the Yale Bar, which is opening up adjacent to Parker's Table. So,
and if we had a dime for every time we've mentioned Parker's Table on this podcast, we'd be rich.
I joke around. People probably think he's like slipping me 20s to mention his name here and there. I promise you, this is a genuine affection for this special place. But the Yale Bar is going to be so cool. Parker's Table is already a community gathering place, a neighborhood spot. People just go there and hang out in the events room and decide to eat their lunch there when they don't have any special events going on. This place, it was a law firm for a long time, and I think John Parker, the owner, always eyed the spot and hoped that he would one day take it over. Well, that finally came true, and he's turning it into just a very low-key wine bar. He's going to have some snacks that are going to be made out of the Parker's Table kitchen, some wine, some craft beer. It's not going to be cocktails, just super low-key, easy, about 30 seats, I think he said. Yeah. Nice bar in there. Just when you close your eyes and think of what a wine bar from Parker's Table would look like, this is it. I can't wait. There are so many places. I know that as the year goes on, we're going to hear of more and more, but I think we're off to a pretty good start.
And we could have mentioned there's more reopenings and more relocations. Renouche, remember, is reopening in the Central West End. La Pizza is opening another location on Main Street in St. Charles. More La
Pizza in this world is a good thing.
D.D. Mao is moving into a really cool building, the former Weber's Front Row in Webster Groves. One I just learned about, Mi Lupita, is moving into the Candici space out in Baldwin. And we've talked about this. It hasn't happened yet, but Katie's is doing another restaurant in that Crestwood Court area down there. Alongside is the Mexican STL, which is a Mexican restaurant from the Cybergs and Twisted Tree folks.
Yes.
So all that's going to happen. And this just happened, Sweetie Pies is going to come back too. So we have that to look forward to in 2025. And Miss Robbie Montgomery will be 85 years old when she pulls this off.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
God bless her.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so happy for her. Well, it looks like we've got a lot to look forward to this year.
Yeah, so that's an abbreviated list. We could go on for days as we normally do. But as we get into our micro rant today, I was thinking about this, and this does relate to the most anticipated restaurants. And I call it poor planning on social media. If there's no social media when the announcement article gets published, there should be.
Yeah.
at least a placeholder. Give us a teaser. Give us a logo, an enticement, something that the reader can sign up for and get excited about. I mean, that's what social media does best, and restaurants don't use that as much as they should. It costs nothing to maintain the excitement, and if your restaurant is not doing that, your competition likely is. Hey, that's all for this week. This is Arch Eats. Be sure to follow us and share with your friends. And we always provide links in the show notes for everything you heard about today. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along on Instagram at St. Louis Mag. And feel free to give us a follow personally at George Mahey and Cheryl A. Bear.
If you loved what you heard, show us some love by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're hungry for even more content, you can subscribe to our dining newsletters for the freshest coverage on the local restaurant and culinary scene.
That's it for this week. Best dishes, and see you next time.